Imagine a world without internet. How would you communicate? Now that's a question to ponder, isn't it? In today's hyper-connected world, it may seem almost impossible to envision life without instant messaging, social media, or email. But what happens when the unexpected strikes and these modern conveniences are no longer available? Emergencies, by their very nature, are unpredictable. Natural disasters like earthquakes, hurricanes, or wildfires could disrupt your typical communication channels. Even man-made crises, such as power outages or cyber attacks, could render your smartphones or computers useless. In these scenarios, the importance of communication cannot be overstated. Communication during emergencies is not just about staying in touch with loved ones, though that is certainly a vital aspect. It's about staying informed about the situation at hand, receiving updates from authorities, and even coordinating rescue efforts if needed. Effective communication can mean the difference between confusion and clarity, panic and calm, and in some cases, life and death. So what can you do when your usual means of communication are down? The answer lies in alternative methods. These are communication strategies that do not rely on the internet or even electricity, making them invaluable during emergencies. Think of landline phones, for instance. Despite being overshadowed by their mobile counterparts, these devices can still function when cell towers are down, as long as the phone lines are intact. Or consider radio communication, such as CB radios, ham radios, or walkie-talkies, which can provide a lifeline when other means fail. Visual signaling using signal mirrors, flashlights, and Morse code is another option, especially during daylight or when noise could attract unwanted attention. And let's not forget about the old-fashioned but effective method of writing letters, which can serve as a form of long-distance communication when all else fails. Knowing how to communicate without the internet can be a lifesaver. So, let's delve deeper into these alternative methods, assess your own communication needs, and help you establish a robust communication plan. Because when it comes to emergencies, being prepared is half the battle won. Let's delve into assessing your own communication needs. In a world where we're used to constant connectivity, it can be challenging to imagine functioning without the internet. But in an emergency situation, the internet may not always be accessible. So how do we identify our most critical communication needs when the grid goes down? Firstly, it's essential to understand that communication isn't just about sharing information. It's also about receiving updates, warnings, or instructions from reliable sources. Therefore, your communication plan should incorporate both outgoing and incoming channels. Next, think about who you need to stay in touch with. Family members, neighbors, emergency services? The answer will vary for everyone, but it's crucial to be clear about this up front. Also, consider the distance over which you need to communicate. Is it within your local community, or do you need to reach out to someone in a different city or even country? Now let's talk about frequency. How often do you anticipate needing to send or receive messages? In some cases, daily communication may be necessary. In others, it could be less frequent. Another key consideration is the nature of the information you might need to convey. Are you likely to be passing on simple status updates, or could you need to share complex instructions or directions? Different forms of communication lend themselves better to different types of messages. Finally, consider the resources you have at your disposal. Do you have access to a landline phone, a radio, or other communication devices? Are you familiar with visual signaling methods like Morse code? Remember, the most effective communication plan is one that is practical and makes the best use of the tools you have available. By taking the time to think through these points, you can begin to form a clear picture of your communication needs in an emergency situation. From there, you can start to develop a robust plan that ensures you can stay connected, even when the internet is down. A well-thought-out communication plan can make a huge difference in a crisis. Now, let's talk about the traditional methods of communication. They may seem outdated in our digital age, but they can be real lifesavers when modern methods fail. Let's start with landline phones. Yes, the good old corded phone that's probably gathering dust somewhere in your house. You see, landline phones don't rely on the internet or even electricity. They have their own power supply through the telephone line, which often remains operational even when the power grid goes down. Next up are radios. We're not just talking about your regular FM/AM radios, but also citizen band or CB radios and ham radios. CB radios are fantastic for short-range communication, while ham radios, with the right equipment and knowledge, can reach across the globe. They operate on different frequencies, allowing you to connect with other users without the need for any internet or cellular service. Walkie-talkies are another reliable option. These devices are perfect for communicating over shorter distances, making them ideal for local community networks during emergencies. They're portable, easy to use, and can function on batteries, ensuring that you can stay connected even when everything else fails. Now, onto visual signaling. This method usually involves using signal mirrors or flashlights to send coded messages. The most famous code is, of course, Morse code. It's a simple system of dots and dashes that can represent each letter of the alphabet. Whether you're flashing a light or tapping on a wall, Morse code can be a powerful tool for sending messages when other means are unavailable. These old-school methods of communication can be lifesavers when modern methods fail. So dust off that old landline phone, learn a bit about radios, and maybe even pick up some Morse code. In a world where we're so reliant on the internet, it's worth knowing how to stay connected when it's not an option. A communication plan is your roadmap in a crisis. When the chips are down, it's this plan that guides you, ensuring you can reach out to loved ones and emergency services alike. So how do you create one? Let's dive in. Firstly, think about your family and your immediate network. You need to establish a communication strategy that everyone understands and can follow. This could include a pre-agreed meeting spot or a system of coded messages, like 3 short flashes of a torch, meaning "I'm safe." It's crucial that everyone knows this plan, understands it, and can implement it without hesitation. Next, consider your emergency contacts. You need local contacts who can respond quickly in an emergency, like neighbors or local friends. But equally important are distant contacts, people outside your immediate area who won't be affected by a local disaster. These contacts can offer a valuable outside perspective, help coordinate aid, or even provide a safe haven if you need to evacuate. Now let's talk about community networks. These are groups of people in your local area who can band together in a crisis. They could be neighbors, local business owners, or volunteers from a community center. These networks can share resources, provide mutual aid, and offer moral support during tough times. They say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a community to survive a crisis. To establish these networks, start by reaching out. Attend community meetings, join neighborhood watch groups, or volunteer at local events. Build relationships and foster a sense of community spirit. Then, when a crisis hits, you won't be facing it alone. You'll have a network of support, a group of people who can help each other through the toughest of times. Remember, in a crisis, your communication plan is your lifeline. It connects you to your loved ones, your community, and the wider world. So take the time to create one, practice it regularly, and make sure everyone involved knows it inside and out. Because when the internet goes down, when the lines of communication are cut, it's this plan that will keep you connected. Ham radio is a powerful tool for long-distance communication. Now that's a statement that will stand the test of time, regardless of how advanced our technology becomes. Let's dive into the world of ham radio, shall we? Ham radio, also known as amateur radio, is not just a hobby. It's a lifeline when traditional communication methods fail. Imagine being able to reach out across continents, oceans, even into space, all without the need for the internet. That's the power ham radio operators wield. So you may wonder, how do I become one of these operators? Well, first things first, you need a license. No need to fret though, it's a straightforward process. The Federal Communications Commission, or the FCC, governs the licensing in the United States. There are 3 levels: technician, general, and extra. Each level grants you more privileges and frequencies to operate on. To get your license, you'll need to pass an exam. Now don't let that scare you off. There are plenty of study guides and practice tests available to help you succeed. Once you're licensed, it's time to gather your equipment. Ham radio isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. so your setup will depend on your particular needs and interests. At a minimum, you'll need a transceiver, which is a device that can both transmit and receive radio signals, a power supply, and an antenna. You might also want to consider a microphone if your transceiver doesn't come with one, and a set of headphones can be handy for tuning into faint signals. But remember, ham radio isn't just about having the right gear. It's about knowledge, patience, and practice. So, get out there, start listening, start transmitting, and start connecting. Though it may seem old-fashioned, ham radio could be your best bet when the internet is down. So, equip yourself with this powerful tool and ensure that you're always connected, no matter what. Opening. There are other tools you can use to communicate without the internet. Now let's delve into some alternative communication tools that don't rely on the World Wide Web. In today's digital age, we often overlook the simple yet effective analog methods that have served us well for centuries. First up, we have physical maps and compasses. In a world without internet, GPS would be a lost luxury. But fear not, a good old-fashioned map and compass can guide you just as reliably. These tools don't require power, they're immune to technical glitches, and they're always ready to navigate. They can help you find your way to safety, locate resources, or rendezvous with loved ones. Plus, learning to read a map and use a compass is a fantastic skill that can open up a whole new world of exploration. Next, we have the lost art of letter writing. Yes, it may seem archaic and slow compared to instant messaging, but in a situation where the internet is down, a handwritten letter could be your ticket to long-distance communication. It's personal, it's secure, and it can be a lifeline to the outside world. And let's be honest, there's something inherently charming about receiving a handwritten note, isn't there? Lastly, we have emergency signaling devices. Tools like flares, whistles, and personal locator beacons can be absolute game changers in a crisis. Flares can signal your location from miles away, whistles can alert nearby rescuers, and personal locator beacons can send out a distress signal to emergency services. Each of these tools serves a unique purpose and can be vital in a life or death situation. These are just a few examples of the many alternative communication tools at your disposal. They're simple, they're effective, and they're often overlooked in our high-tech world. But when the chips are down and the internet is out, you'll be glad you have them in your toolkit. Closing. These alternative tools can be invaluable when you need to communicate without internet. Staying connected during an internet outage is critical for safety. It's the lifeline that keeps us tethered, informed, and ready to respond to any situation that comes our way. This episode has underscored the importance of preparing for communication in times of emergencies without the luxury of the internet. From the humble landline to the sophisticated ham radio, we've explored a range of offline communication methods. Each has its unique strengths, and the right one for you depends on your needs and circumstances. We've also discussed how essential it is to establish a robust communication plan. This includes setting up local and distant emergency contacts and leveraging community networks. Remember, being prepared is not about expecting the worst, but being ready for anything. So, explore these alternative communication methods, set up a plan, and ensure you're never truly isolated. Stay connected, stay safe, and remember, preparation is key to survival. Don't forget to pick up your copy of the Ultimate Grid-Down Survival Handbook on Amazon today. Also, if you aren't already, please subscribe and share your experiences in the comments.